Hello and welcome to my December live stream. This is Andy Ward's Ancient Pottery. This is the best place on the internet to learn about primitive and replica pottery. So today the subject I'm going to be talking about is pigments, natural pigments. How to go out in nature and find those, how to process them, how to apply them on your pots, and kind of some of the minerals that you use to achieve different colors. Plus answering all your questions live. So if you have questions, pottery related questions, leave them in the chat and I'll try to get them all answered before the end of the live stream. Okay? I appreciate you all being here. Let me know if they're if the audio is good, if it's too loud or too low. I constantly have audio problems, so I apologize if that's not right. Couple of announcements. My spring pottery workshop, which I just announced, is full. So that filled up in less than a week. So I apologize if anybody wanted to get into that workshop. It did fill up really quickly. If you're interested in getting into my in-person workshops, I only do 2 a year. And so the best way to know when those come out, when those are available, is to subscribe to my email newsletter. And you will find that sign up on my website, which is at right there. Ren Pixie says my volume's low, so I'm cranking it up a little bit. Hopefully that'll make a difference. So if you go to my website, that's where you can sign up for the newsletter. At this point, there won't be another workshop until the fall, and that'll probably be I'll probably announce that in the spring, right after my spring workshop. So April-ish, look for that. So a couple of events you might want to know about and attend. I have a pottery firing event in December. Wait, did I say this was my December live stream? It's November. December pottery firing in Oro Valley, Arizona. So through Archaeology Southwest, they've got like a second Saturday thing out there where they go out and do events, different events related to ancient technologies. I think sometimes they make jewelry. Sometimes they might do like weaving or like flint knapping. And December is usually when they do pottery. And so we have a big event. Me and other potters show up out there in December and we fire pottery. So if you're interested in coming, you can just watch the firing. Or if you want to bring some pots and have them fired for you by me, you're welcome to do that as well. That's December 14th. That's a Saturday at 9 o'clock in the morning at Steam Pump Ranch in Oro Valley. And that's not on my website yet, but it will be. Now I have a Spring Potters Gathering. I've been doing this for the last few years. This is a place where people can kind of get together. We can fire some pottery, maybe go collect some clay and stuff. It's just a small, informal gathering. And this is open to anybody who is a supporter of my channel. So Ancient Potters Club members, that's my Wednesday night Zoom class. Ancient Potters Club members, channel members, or patrons, okay? So if you're one of those, send me an email to RSVP that you're going to come, and then we will meet. It'll be May 3rd and 4th. That's a weekend of May 3rd and 4th in up near Sholo, Arizona, on the Mogollon Rim. So if you email me, you can email me on my website. So again, here's my website. You can go to the Contact Us form on the website and send me a message. Let me know you're coming, and then I will tell you, the more details as time approaches. That's May 3rd and 4th, so that's still a few months away. Don't forget, I'd appreciate if you'd hit the like button. That helps me out a great deal with the algorithm. If you were at my last live stream, which I don't think I had one in October, I think it was September, I tried to give away some memberships. These are channel memberships. Channel memberships are advantageous for a couple of reasons. They get you into my Discord group, which is really useful. There's a lot of really knowledgeable potters in there, and if you're trying to make this kind of pottery, it's a great place to exchange information, upload pictures of the pots you're working on, talk about problems you're having. So there's that. And then also I have a ton of behind-the-scene videos. Every month I make a behind-the-scene video that I release to members. And so there's a lot of extra videos you can see that are on YouTube that if you're not a member, you can't see. And so I'm going to try to give away, last time I did this, I almost said last month. When I tried to do this in September, I couldn't get it to work. So I'm going to try it again today, see if I can give away some channel memberships for some people. So Let's see, how many people we got on here? 52. So I'm going to try, let's see, will it let me? See, it only says super stickers and super chat. So let me see if I can just go to my YouTube channel, click on the live stream. I better mute it, otherwise we're going to get feedback. It's going to make me watch an ad. And then I'm going to see if I can give away a membership, because it's really frustrating, because I look up the information about how to do it. I'm like, okay, you know, that sounds easy enough. And then I get in here and it's not working for me. So I really don't know what that's about. Okay, I'm skip my ad. Where's the live stream? Oh, the chat. It's down here by the chat, membership gifting. So I can give away 10 memberships for almost 50 bucks. Let's see if I can do that. Hopefully that went through. Your gift has been announced in live chat. So there it is. Hopefully that worked, and some of you can get a membership, a month-long membership to my channel, and hopefully you get something out of that. If you didn't get chosen, hang around, and I will try it again towards the end of the video. Okay. Let's see. Oh, let me go to the chat real quick. If you have a question, any pottery related question, so our subject today is pigments, pigment minerals, but if you have any pottery related question, it doesn't have to be about pigment minerals. Drop it in the chat and I'll try to get them all answered. Okay. Got a hello, greetings. Airstream Wanderings is here, everybody. Hello, Wes. Hello. Audio's fine, says Airstream Wanderings. Good. Jerry's here. Hey, Andy. Hope you are having a good day. I am. A little low on the volume, said Ren Pixie. I turned it up after that, so hopefully we're on the right track. Hi from the heart of Europe. Appreciate that, Europe. Tennessee. Hello, Andy. Has these pigments safe to breathe? Okay, that's a good question. Tomato and then some Cyrillic alphabet stuff that I can't pronounce. Asked me if the pigments are safe to breathe. You never want to breathe in any of these materials, whether it's clay or like ground up minerals. You know, they're not good to breathe. If you're grinding up minerals and there's a lot of dust in the air, wear a mask. You know, keep that out of your nose. But generally, like when you're firing it, it might be putting off some fumes, but you're not sticking your head in the fire, so you shouldn't be breathing. I mean, you shouldn't be breathing smoke anyways, right? Let's say there's nothing burning but oak wood, right? You don't want to breathe that. It's not good for you. I used to work for the Forest Service as a firefighter. I know that. It's not good for you. So don't stick your head in the smoke. I mean, there could be fumes in there. Don't do it, right? A lot of times people complain on my videos. Sometimes I'll use a galvanized steel bucket to kind of protect the pottery from the fuel as I'm firing. And people will get in there and say, "Oh, you're going to get sick. You're going to hurt yourself. Don't burn that galvanized." Galvanized puts off fumes when it's hot that can make you sick. But I know about it. You know, I used to work as a welder. I've actually had that. I don't know what they call it. There's some things called like zinc fever or something, I can't remember, that you get, and it gives you a headache, makes you feel terrible when you breathe in those zinc fumes. So when you're welding, a lot of times on something that's galvanized, that's got that zinc, you'll breathe in those fumes because you're real close to it when you're welding, and it'll make you sick. But in a fire, I mean, you're standing 10, 20 feet away from that fire. You don't got your head in. I've fired with galvanized a ton. I know the symptoms of, zinc fume poisoning, and I've never even gotten a little bit of it while firing pottery. So, and it's the same with any of these minerals, right? If they give off fumes, it's a small amount and it's rising up with the smoke. Don't stick your head in the smoke. But yeah, don't breathe that stuff in. None of that's good to breathe in. From Uppington, England, UK. Welcome, Andrea. Hi from Russia. Wow. Chris in Kansas. Audio's fine. Great. Good to hear it. Concerned Pueblo native person. Hi, everyone. Andy, this Myron, traditional potter from Laguna, Pueblo. Hey, we've got a native potter from Laguna here. Jen says, I love your content. Appreciate it. Some people got those gift memberships, so that's great. How do I fire pottery if I can't even light a campfire? Well, you got to be able to light a campfire. I mean, is that having to do with the laws, or like you don't know how to light a fire? Because, I mean, if the law says you can't light a fire, I can't do much about that. Hello from Central California. Watching from Israel. Wow, we've got quite an international group today. Question, is it helpful to run wash sand through a grinder to make it rougher? Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of times, wash sand, at least here in the Southwest, is the most easily accessible source of temper. So in case you don't know, temper is non-plastic material that you add to clay, keeps it from cracking, protects it from thermal shock. So when you're mixing up clay, you add like sand to it to protect it from that. And wash sand is real easy. You just go, it's like a dry creek here in the Southwest. It's called a wash. You go out there and you just pick up some sand. The trouble is those sand particles, they're like river rocks, okay? Like if you go to the river and the rocks are all round, wash sand is just like that. You just don't notice it because it's real small. But the clay has trouble gripping it because they're little rounded particles. So if you grind it, either grind it in a metate, run it through like a corn grinder, and it'll just break that up a little bit and give it sharper edges, and it'll be a better temper. And I've done that. But a lot of times when you're in a hurry, you can just use it the way it is. But definitely it will make a better temper if you grind it. Use a blowtorch to get the fire going. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. Deb from California, great to see you. Hey, Deb, I'm glad you made it. Okay, let's get to the stuff. Okay, I'm going to go through by color. So the first color I'm going to talk about is white. When you see white on pottery, it's almost always white clay. There's some things you can add to like clay to kind of lighten it up in color. So like I know Paul Thornburg actually added salt to some of his white slip to whiten it up. The same goes for like calcium and stuff. You can add a little bit to, if you have a light colored clay, to lighten it up. But the best thing to find if you're looking for white is white clay. So if I can do this, hold on a second. I'm going to change cameras real quick. Okay, I've got my camera on my desk here. Oh, I've got too much stuff. I've got all this stuff for like show and tell today, and it's like everywhere. So this is my white clay. I've been using this. I'll show you the pot in a little bit. On a pot, I've been slipping a pot with this. I can't find that camera. There it is. And this is white clay from New Mexico that Paul Thornburg gave me, called Smith Springs White. This is a good white. And here's some of the pottery that the Thornburgs made with that. You can see it's a decent white. Fire's nice. Makes a nice surface. But white clay is one of the hardest clays to find. And so, that's a real challenge to find good white clay. I looked all over here in Southeast Arizona for white clay for, like 20 years or more, looking for white clay. And this is about as white as I could find here. And I don't know if the camera's doing it justice, but it's not really white. It's, it's off white. It's quite a little on the kind of tan side, and it fires that way too. This comes from a place called Benson, Arizona, which is a little town not too far from me. And, it's clay and it's white-ish, and that's about as good as a lot of people can get. So if you have a clay that's, not really as white as you'd like, you can try adding something to it. Like I said, like salt or calcium, something ground up real fine, levigated so it's really fine and pure, and add that to a light colored clay to make it closer to true white. That'd be the best thing I could tell you. White's tough. You find a good white, you found something good. It's worth exploring and looking for a good white clay. Google Earth is really good for that, or like, the satellite views in Google Maps. Go around, look for that white color on the ground, and then, you got to plan like a day to go out there and sometimes hike out to it or go to these places, try it, see how it fires. And a lot of times, even when it looks pure white in nature, it'll fire to a tan color or something. So it doesn't turn out as white as you'd like. I found last summer a really beautiful white clay just west of Socorro, New Mexico, right on the roadside, and it looked really good. I brought it home, purified some, put it on a pot, fired it, and it was very tan when it came out. So disappointing, and that'll happen. That's pretty common. Okay. I'm going to move on and do black before I go back to the chat. Okay. So black is a color that a lot of the native potters back in ancient times were trying to get. Black on white pottery is super common in the Southwest from a lot of different people. And so, it's worth trying, but sometimes it's the more complicated one to get. So the number one thing to make black paint is manganese dioxide. These are rocks of manganese that I collected over in New Mexico, and I will change to the desktop cam to show you that this one has little manganese crystals. Can you see that? But it's just a black rock. You know, it's fairly black. Sometimes it has a little bit of like a metallic sheen to it, or it can have a little bit of a bluish cast, but it's just a black rock. And what you're looking for is you're looking for a stone that is not just black, but relatively soft, because that's easier to grind up into the fine powder that you need. And so a lot of times what the natives will do is they'll have like a palette stone. You know, I'll show you again over here. They'll have a palette stone like this. It's a flat piece of sandstone, and they'll just scrub that stone on it and make it into a powder. But what I like to do is grind it up in my corn grinder, or like bust it with a hammer until it's small enough pieces to feed through my corn grinder. Or if you have a metate, you can do that. Grind it up till it's sandy, and then levigate it. So if you don't know what levigation is, that's a process of separating out the finest particles using gravity and water. So put it in water, mix it up, let it settle for just a second. Those larger, like sand-sized particles will settle out pretty quick. And then you pour off while that black manganese is suspended in water. Those are the fine particles, the ones that are suspended. Pour off that, and then add more water, mix it up, let it set for just a minute, and then pour it off. And just keep doing that until you've got a layer in the second bucket, a pure layer of really fine manganese. In the first bucket, eventually you'll have just grit in there, like sand. And so that's separating those finer particles. Now you can take that sand material and grind it again, and then do that again, because there's more manganese there. But that's a way to get the purest stuff. So when I go to workshops, I use manganese that I purchase, because I spend a lot of time and effort purifying manganese for my own use. And for a workshop, boy, you've got 12 students, you will go through the material. So this is purchased off Amazon. You can go to Amazon and just go manganese dioxide, and you'll find it all ground up. And that's an easy way to get it. And then you don't have to worry about grinding and levigating and breathing in that, because you don't want to breathe in that manganese. It can actually do damage to your brain. So when you're grinding manganese, when you're grinding any of these minerals, but specifically manganese, you want to make sure you have a good mask on, so you're not breathing in those particles. And if you buy it already ground, you're saving some of that. So that's a good way, because manganese will turn black in oxidation. If you don't oxidize good enough, it'll turn brown, though. You have to have a good oxidation atmosphere to turn black. So if it doesn't oxidize good, and it doesn't even have to reduce, just doesn't get a good enough flow of oxygen, it'll be brown. And because manganese is a dioxide, I assume that brown is manganese oxide, with one oxygen molecule instead of two. So that's that. That's what to do with manganese. There's other materials that'll turn black, though. This is copper carbonate. So this is copper carbonate would be things like azurite, malachite, chrysocolla, some of those copper minerals that are soft. They're soft enough to easily grind, and you do it the same way you do the manganese. So this one is stuff that I've levigated myself. I ground it. I went out and collected it at a mine. I ground it. I levigated it, so it's just pure powder. This one, a little brighter in color, this is one I bought off of Amazon. Again, so a little different color, but pretty much the same thing. And it's used the same way. So this is a test that I made years ago for demonstration purposes. And I'll show you this up close here. This was made to show the different colors that I could get from natural materials. So this one is manganese dioxide. You can see nice black. This is hematite, which is red like iron oxide, and I will get to that in a little bit when we talk about red. This is white clay, so another, again, nice white. This is yellow clay, brighter red than the hematite, as you can see, and this is copper carbonate. So the copper carbonate, again, is black, but not quite as dark black as the manganese, a little more gray. So that is a good example of the colors that you can get from those minerals. Usually when I make black paint, I mix 50-50 my copper and manganese for good results. Now you can also get black if you're going to reduction fire it with red hematite. This is hematite. And so you mix that hematite with some clay to make it harden. All of these minerals, if you've got a mineral like manganese or hematite, you need to mix it with some clay to make it harden in the fire. Otherwise, you'll get it out of the fire and those colors will just wipe off because it's just ground stone after all. There's nothing to make it harden, which is really the magic thing about clay. So you're going to mix it with about a third to half clay to make it harden. And the same with the hematite, you'll mix it with clay. And then in reduction, here's an example of that. This one is that Thornburg pot, again, fired in reduction, and that turned that red. You can see it's a little red in this area, but for the most part, turned it to black where it reduced. So that's how you get black. There's one more way they used to get black, and that is with organic paint. So some cultures in the Southwest used organic paint. This is just plant material. If it's painted on the right kind of clay slip, which is a smectite, then in the right firing atmosphere, it'll make black carbon designs. So this is mesquite beans. I just boil them down, strain out all the solids, and just boil them down until they're tarry. But you can make it out of all kinds of things. Some people make it out of sunflowers, tansy mustard, Rocky Mountain bee weed. I've made it out of yucca fruit. So all kinds of things can be made into organic paint. And that turns black in the firing into carbon and makes designs as well. So there's a number of ways to make black designs. I'll go back to the chat now and see if I can answer all your questions. If I remember correct, you said in one video that historic hematite paint did not have much clay, so they should have used some flux. Do you still mix with clay or something else? You know, I'd like to talk to an archaeologist, like a ceramic analyst, about this, because I'm really not sure what the right answer is. But if you go back and read Shepherd, what's her name? Anna Shepherd. So she wrote kind of the Bible for ceramic, ancient ceramics analysis. Back in, I don't know when she wrote that book, the 50s maybe, 1950s. It's called Ceramics for the Archaeologist. It's a great book. There's a lot of good information in there. She indicated that she didn't think that when she looked at that, they were analyzing the black paint on membranous pottery, which is reduced iron, that there was no clay in it. I've read other things from archaeologists since then that have indicated that there was clay in it. For instance, Daryl Creel had a book recently, and I think that indicated there was clay in it. So what is the truth? I don't know. I'm confused. But I've done a lot of experiments with hematite and with the temperatures. That's the other thing. All right, you can flux that red. You can flux it and make it kind of melt a little onto the pot. But the archaeologists tell me that membranous pottery was fired in the 750 to 850 degrees Celsius range, which means in my experiments, I can't get red hematite to flux at that temperature. Were they using something else? Or was Anna Shepherd wrong? Those are all possibilities that probably need to be answered. But right now, I'm adding clay to my paint to make it harden good, and it works good. What the ancients were doing, I guess that's something for the archaeologists to figure out. Like I said, you get different information from archaeologists. Sometimes they'll say one thing, and then you talk to another archaeologist, and they'll say something else, because they're just like you and me. They're doing experiments, and they're trying to figure things out. And sometimes one person thinks something, and some other study will, prove that what the first guy said was wrong. It's all up in the air. What I know is if I can't get it to flux without adding, I can't get it to flux at the right temperatures, so I add clay to it. Zach Miller is here. What kind of salt? That's a good question, Zach. I don't know if Paul indicated to me what kind of salt he was adding to it. I think he just said he was using salt. So, when most Americans say salt, they mean table salt. So, that's a good place to start. I don't know. I really don't. Jen, I'm in Oklahoma. What do you know about the white Ada clay from Frankhoma is made of? I don't know anything about it. I lived in Oklahoma for 4 years, but I don't know anything about white Ada clay from Frankhoma. Be cool to check out. I don't know. There's a lot of good clay in Oklahoma. I know that. I need to build a kiln for wood firing, says Amy. But for various reasons, it would be difficult, costly to build. Can you dig an L shape into the hillside? Yeah, yeah. You got to see that video I did about the Thornburgs. How many months ago was that? It wasn't long ago. It was this summer, maybe August. Go back in my videos. There's a video about Paul and Laurel Thornburg and the pottery they made. And their first kiln of that sort was dug into the bank of an arroyo. So they dug down, and then they went in from the side and made like an L inside there, like you said. It's a chimney. And you add the fuel in the front, and then the pots are loaded from the top. Absolutely doable. And I've done that myself. When I first started using those kind of kilns way back in the early 90s, that's what I did on a much smaller scale than theirs. I could fire like one pot at a time. But yeah, that's a great way to do it. Sorry, I meant I just can't keep the fire going. So the Russian person can't keep the fire going. I don't. You're just gonna have to, put a more fuel on it, get it going good, or do it when it's dry. Maybe you live in a damp climate, and when the wood's damp, it's hard to get it to burn. Let's see, Amy. I would need to extend the space to build upward if it drops off to a hillside, but I thought maybe if I dig into some, I could use the dirt removed to create. Yeah, absolutely. It all sounds reasonable, Amy. But to build, I would need, let's see. Stupid things jumping around, sorry. Hi from MS, Mississippi, I think. Is that it? Jackie Baker? I thought you were in Alabama. Oh, Mississippi. No, you were in Holly Springs. Yeah, I remember. Hey, Jackie. Is a pot itself supposed to glow a color during a firing, like red or orange? Yeah. So if you look online, you can find charts that'll say there's ways to estimate what temperature at by the glow. If your pot's glowing yellow, it means it got to this temperature. If your pot's glowing red, it means it got to this temperature. So you can kind of roughly judge the temperature you're firing to based on the color it glows. But I fire during the day because I like to see what's going on really good, and so you don't really see the glow as much in the day. You have to fire at night for that to work, but certainly can be done. It does glow in the day. You just, with the daylight, with the sunlight, you just don't know. You can't see it. Okay, message retracted. Super Guy 250, if it doesn't glow, it's not fired. Tomato lasagna. Do you know in what time period blue pigment or glaze started to appear? I was in a museum and I was shocked when I saw pieces of fire tiles with blue glaze. No, but have you ever seen the Ishtar Gate from ancient Babylon? Look that up online. So the Ishtar Gate was one of the entrances to ancient Babylon, and it was all covered in glazed blue tiles. Beautiful, with pictures of lions and dragons and stuff on it. Really cool. And they excavated that, I don't know, way back in the 1800s. And it's reconstructed at a museum in, I think, Berlin. I think it's in Germany. They've got the reconstructed Ishtar Gate. So you can see pictures of that. Unbelievable. It's beautiful. What they were using, I have no idea. And when they start, but Babylon, that's old, history-wise, the year. You can't do blue with anything here in the Southwest. I do believe in the old world they have pigments that they can use for blue, maybe like lapis lazuli or something, which we don't have here, but I don't know. Let's see. I will go watch that video. Thank you. That's great news. Sina Linda, hello from Arizona. I love watching your videos. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Sina. Appreciate that. Thank you. Borax melts at 742. Oh, yeah. I've used borax, and also, what's the other one I used to fairly good effect? Soda ash. I got fluxes out of both of those, and those are fine to use for a flux. But the subject of this video is more like using natural materials, and there is borax in the Southwest, in California, but there's no place I can go collect borax around here. Certainly I can at the grocery store, but yeah, you can use it if you don't mind using store-bought materials, or if you happen to live in California where you can go get borax. But for the rest of us, there's nothing wrong with using it. I'm just saying, I'm trying to use natural materials. That's the point. Okay, moving right along. I talked about black. We don't have any questions on black. Let me show you what I've been working on. This is a pot I'm making for the Ancient Potters Club. So Ancient Potters Club is our my Wednesday night Zoom class. So we meet here in this studio every Wednesday night and make pottery over Zoom together. And so every month we do a different project. So some months we do, you know, a certain bowl or a type of jar from different cultures around the Southwest usually. This month we're doing members seed jars. And this is an example of a replica of a members seed jar. But you can look online. There's a lot of pictures of members seed jars. And in my Discord, I put up, you know, I don't know, 50 pictures of members seed jars for people. So there's a lot of different ones to look at. This is my members seed jar replica. And I've been slipping it. I slipped it with this, this white clay that I talked about earlier. It came from New Mexico. And it's still drying. So it'll get more opaque. Right now you can kind of see the brown showing through. But it'll become more opaque as it dries. And so that's where that's at. And then next Wednesday, that'll be the third class in the month. So the first Wednesday of the month, I formed the pot. This past Wednesday, I slipped it with the white slip. And then I also kind of cleaned it up a little bit. And then next Wednesday, I will start painting the design on it. So you're welcome to join us. If you're interested, the Ancient Potters Club, you can sign up for that on my website, ancientpottery.how. And, you know, it's fun. And also you get access to that Discord group where we talk about pottery all week long, too. Share pictures. So that's what that's at. And that is a good example of white clay. And that'll be covered with, like this one, it'll be covered in black paint, which is actually reduced iron. So it'll be painted on red, and then it'll be fired in a reduction atmosphere to turn it black. That's that project. Okay, so we covered black and white. We should be good on that. Let's talk about red, okay? There's a number of ways to get red, and that was a pretty common color in the ancient Southwest. Here's a pookie I made, I think it was last year. I made this. And these are different colors of clay. These are not minerals. So a lot of what we've been talking about so far is minerals like manganese and copper carbonate. But these are different clays of different colors. So usually red is more clay-based because it's not uncommon to have red clay. So some of these yellows, we'll talk about yellow in a little bit. Some of these yellows they didn't start out yellow. They start out as either gray or in some cases kind of green clay. These are all red clays. I think this might have been brown. These were red clays, and this was a yellow clay. So sometimes your brightest reds, as you can see, the brightest red here is this one, and that started out as yellow. Sometimes your brightest reds are actually yellow clays. And so, if you saw my recent video where I was collecting clay or hunting for clay on the Mogollon Rim, one of the things I was looking for was yellow clay. So I collected 3 different places of yellow clay up there. And what I'm trying to do now is get it all purified. And I do it the same way I've been talking about doing the minerals, right? Levigation. Put it in a bucket, soak it up, mix it up so that it's, you know, the particles are suspended. Let it settle so those larger particles fall out, and then pour off that pure clay from the top. So this is the first one. This is from Upper Cottonwood up on the Mogollon Rim near Show Low, Arizona. It's a nice bright yellow. And then this is the second one. This one came from up in the similar area. This one I called Bailey yellow. And I think it's just now drying. It's still a little damp. But this little particle here is fully dry. So if I can show you this in comparison here, you can see that this Upper Cottonwood yellow is a darker yellow, a more saturated yellow, whereas this Bailey yellow, it's more pastel. It's a little bit lighter, a little bit whiter in color. And then to give you another comparison, so this is, you guys ever watch that channel, Mark Gibson's Southwest Pottery? It's a YouTube channel here. He talks about a lot of the same subjects I talk about, primitive pottery and whatnot, replication. So this is the yellow that he gave me when I visited him up in New Mexico after the Kiln Conference. So here we can see all 3 of those together. And you can see that the clay I got from Mark is lighter. This Bailey material is a little different. I don't know if I could really characterize it. It's not quite the same, but it's in the same range. And then this is, again, a much more saturated yellow. This Upper Cottonwood. So what I'm going with this is that I hope in the next month or so, if I get these all, there's still one more to do. There's still another yellow I haven't levigated yet. Once I get these all set, I'm going to make a test pot, kind of like I did here, and I'm going to put all these yellows, I'm going to paint them all with some other yellows that I had previously, paint them all in the same pot, and fire them so that we can compare the fired color of these yellow clays to see what they come out to. That should be interesting. Because what I'm looking for is, if you ever look at like White Mountain Redware, St. John's polychrome, 4 Mile polychrome, Pinedale polychrome, those types that were made in the 1300s up in northern Arizona. They have a really bright, sometimes a little orangey color. So that's what I'm going for. So I'm just going to do some tests, and then I'll know which one I want. So that's a great way to get red, yellow clay. Yellow clay is hard to find, but if you can find it, it always makes, remember this was my test piece, and I said that brighter red here, that was a yellow clay. That was yellow clay that was given to me by a friend way back when I made that. It wasn't 10 years ago, but it was over 5. So that's one way. Another way is hematite, or just red rocks. So yellow rocks are called limonite, and red are called hematite. And so there's a lot of great places around, at least in Arizona, where I can find hematite. This is some from a place where there's lots and lots of this red ochre, and this is real soft. You can probably just scrub it off on your hands. See that? So this is a bunch I collected up in central Arizona of ochre, red ochre. You see it's real soft. I can break it. And real red too, real bright red. So that's one. And then some of it's a little harder. This is a little harder, but still it's very soft. If I wish I had a rock here I could scrub it on, because it really is really, oh, you can see it on my finger there, see? It's fairly soft. And so you can just like scrub it on your palette, like I was saying about the manganese, and make paint just by scrubbing it on the palette, or break it up with a hammer, run it through like a corn grinder or a metate, and grind it up, and then levigate it, and then you'll have a whole container of powder, which is nice because not only is it easy, but then when you're mixing up your paint recipe, you can be sure of your proportions by taking a scoop and going, okay, 1 scoop of hematite to 1 scoop of red clay, or that kind of thing. So you can get your percentages right when you're mixing up clay. This is, if you saw that video I had a couple months ago where I was collecting hematite, this is that hematite powder that I processed from up there at Maury back in those days. So red hematite's good. Same as I said with the manganese, you need to mix it with some clay to make it harden in the fire. So that's really the key. Or there's 2 different ways to do it actually. You mix it with hematite, and you mix it with clay, red clay. I usually do like 50-50, and that works real good. Or you can, if you paint it on what they call a hematite wash. So you take the hematite, you mix it in water, stir it up so that hematite is kind of suspended, and then paint it on the still damp pot. And then you can just burnish it as that starts to dry. Just go over it with a smooth stone, and that sets those particles down into that damp clay. Makes it permanent because they're being fused with the clay. So this is a little salt shaker I made in the Ancient Potter Club last year, and I did that with that. So the base clay, as you see, is brown, but I did that hematite wash. I painted some of that red hematite on it, and I went over it with a smooth stone to set it in, and then I painted black and white over the top of that. So that's that hematite wash, which doesn't include mixing it with clay. It's a little simpler. So that's red. So usually you're getting red from either red clay, red hematite, or yellow clay, or yellow stones, right? I don't think there's a way to really get red from anything that doesn't start out red or yellow, at least not that I know of. Usually your clays that are going to fire red, they'll be a little more on the brown side. And then adding that hematite to it will bump it up, make it a little brighter red. So that's how you get red. Let me go back to the chat and see if I can get caught up. Thank you. Oh, the borax question. That was the last one. Wow, just looked at the Ishtar Gate, says Ren Pixie. Yeah, that's amazing stuff, and that is so old. It was way before they weren't even making pottery in the Southwest when they made that. Unbelievable. And Amy, one last question. If I wanted to introduce salt into a firing in the kiln, I'll probably be digging soon. What would be the best way to do that, do you think? You're talking about like salt glazing, I assume, Amy, and I don't know anything about it, so I really can't give you any advice on that because I've never done it. Sion's Country Life. Hopefully you've seen my earlier message making a Doro Dango. I've been crushing up fallen leaves to create natural pigments. I live in the Isle of Wight. Greetings. Hey, that's cool, but I don't know anything about Doro Dangos, so I can't help you there. I'll tell you one thing about fallen leaves. In the pot, if you're going to fire that pottery, then anything you make out of organic material is going to burn up. It's not going to give you any pigment, only if it's unfired. Thank you so much for your wonderful info. I hadn't touched clay in years. Chose to focus on family. It's jumping again. But lately I've been creating again. Couldn't fire anything, so I thought. Okay, let's see. Thank you for your videos. I've been using information here to pull clay off my property to make bricks. I live on a 250-year-old house. That's cool. From Illinois. Thank you, and you're welcome. Do you gift your pots to your friends, relatives, family members? Yeah, if you want to become my family member and get a pot gift. No, just kidding. Yeah, sometimes, but I got to the point, this was years ago, like back in the 90s, early 2000s, where I was like, everybody's tired of getting my pots, you know, so I don't think I've given a pot away in a few years, but, you know, I go to families' houses and I see my old pots there. Yeah, mostly I sell them on my website now. How do you process the... Oh, that's for somebody else. Hi. Oh, that's all for somebody else. Okay, I'm ready to move along then. What time we got? 11:11. Give me a couple minutes. I'm going to go through some of these other colors, and then I will give away 10 more memberships towards the end. So hang on for that if you didn't get one in the first round. Okay? So I've done white, black, red. Orange is pretty much the same as red. Usually those oranges are coming from like yellow clays, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to skip over orange. I'm going to go to yellow. Yellow is one of the hardest colors, not the hardest, but one of the hardest colors to get using natural materials. So here, remember I showed you the salt shaker earlier? Here is the other salt shaker. So, you know, one of them's salt and one of them's pepper. And this one is painted yellow. You can see again, the base color was brown. It was slipped with a yellow firing slip. And that material is actually not yellow at all, green. It comes from a green clay. This is the green clay that I painted it with to get that yellow. So this green clay comes from by Blanding, Utah, so southeast Utah. And I collected it up there. I've got a whole bag of it. And since I only use it for slip, you know, it'll last me forever. And then if you saw my recent video where I was clay hunting, I think it was like 2 videos back or something, I found green clay up there in northern Arizona as well. And green clay is around. It's not super common. I found green clay last year on the San Pedro River, not far from here. And it fired yellow as well. So green clay is around, and usually that green clay fires yellow, sometimes a little on the orange side. Now the Hopis, they're famous for making yellowware pottery, and they use a gray clay that fires to yellow. And I'd show you some. I had some, but I gave it to Wes, who was in here a little bit ago. I don't know if he still is. And Wes has made some stuff out of that. But, so that Hopi gray clay also fires to yellow. You just got to do some tests to find something that fires that way, because when you find it in nature, it's never, well, in my experience, it never starts out yellow and then comes out of the fire yellow. Because if you find yellow clay, it usually fires to red. If you find green clay, it usually fires to yellow. Gray clay, you know, sky's the limit what it could fire to. So yellow's tough. The other one that people are often trying to get is like blue and green. And we had this discussion a little earlier in the live stream about blue. And I don't know anything that fires blue, although I know they have blues in the old world, and I don't know what they were using. The Mayans have a famous stuff called, I think they call it Mayan blue, but that stuff was painted on after firing. So I'm talking about things that you put on before firing that are going to come out of the fire a specific color. Of course, you can paint things on after firing, things that are colored with, you know, organic pigments like flowers or, you know, certain plants that they might use to color baskets, right? But any of those pigments, those organic pigments, they're going to turn to carbon in a firing. But if you're going to paint it afterward, you know, you can use acrylic paint on it after it comes out of the firing. In fact, I have a Native American potter friend in New Mexico who makes beautiful, beautiful pots. He makes them traditionally. I think he fires them traditionally, and then he paints them with acrylic paint. Les Naminga, if you want to look him up. and does beautiful work, all painted with acrylic paint. But that's post firing, so that's a little different. Green, yeah. So there was this kid. I have a Facebook. If you're on Facebook, I have a Facebook group called Primitive Pottery, and you should look that up if you're interested. And there was a kid on there, a Navajo kid, a few years ago, who kept posting pictures of. He'd make these little figurines, little like dancers, out of clay, and they always had green on them. And I was like, "Where's that green coming from?" And he'd say, "Oh, I've got this clay up here on the reservation that I get that fires green." And everybody was curious about that, or suspicious that he wasn't being honest, because, stuff doesn't fire green generally. So one of my friends kind of pushed him and said, "Well, send me a sample of it, and I'd like to do some tests on it." And then he just kind of disappeared because he didn't want to do it or something. And so then we always thought, well, maybe he wasn't being honest. A lot of potters are like that. They want to keep their secrets close. And then there's a guy over in New Mexico. He's with San Ildefonso Pueblo. Eric Fender, I think, who has a green clay that he says, it comes from a natural source. And I trust him because I know him a little better. He's a little more respected potter, whereas this kid, I didn't know anything about him. And he says they dig it out of the ground and it fires green, And I have a friend who's a geologist who says that chromium fires green, and he's done some experiments with that. So at the kiln conference back in September, I was up in Cortez. There was an archaeologist guy there, Paul Ermagati, and he had a test bowl that he had painted with different materials, and one of those was green. When he painted it on, I saw it before it was fired, had green paint on it. I fired it myself, so I can attest to that. It came out of the fire green. He says he got it from a Hopi guy who collected it up on the reservation. Again, I approach any potter that says something with a little bit of suspicion because, not everybody's honest, especially potters, because they kind of, or any artist, right? Because sometimes they want to hold on to their sources, or maybe if I'm using commercial underglaze, I don't want anybody to know I'm using commercial underglaze, or, that kind of thing. So I'm a little suspicious, but I'm also intrigued. So I'd like to learn more about that. But as a general rule, you can't get anything that's going to fire blue and green here in the Southwest naturally. You can get these beautiful copper carbonates, and some of these are bright blue, some of them are bright green. They're like these turquoise colors, but they always come out of the fire black or gray. So I don't know. It seems to me there's something that's firing green, perhaps, or there's a lot of liars out there. And I'm not calling anybody a liar. I'm just saying I'm always suspicious, right? That's blue and green. Let me go back to the chat. And then I'll give away some memberships, and then I'll do purple at the end, okay? Because that's the last color I haven't covered. Okay, where am I at here? Okay, Ren Pixie. Any minerals found up near the Clay Springs area are mostly near the mine tailings? No, Ren Pixie. Up near Clay Springs, I'm not collecting in near the mine tailings at all. I don't. If I go up by there's a clay mine up there. If you go up by the clay mine, I don't get in their way at all over where they're mining. I dig in that general area. I dig around it, but not there. Cian's Country Life. Originally a once I found a purplish pink clay, but it fired into ochre beige color. So sad. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So Wes says the Hopi gray clay seems to need to be fired with lignite coal to turn yellow. Okay, so if you fire it with something else, Wes, does it just turn gray or what? I live in Kentucky. I have not found green clay, but I heard in my college days it is around here. Jeff Sanderson. Hi, Andy, from South Africa. Thank you for a very informative channel. I appreciate that, Jeff. Thanks for watching. Jen says, love this so much. Where would one find clay in Oklahoma? Pigments do you find here? I have found some beautiful purple sand. Oklahoma's loaded with clay. Where I lived north of Ada. You could just dig down 6 inches and there was clay everywhere. And there's some clay quarries around too. So if you go to mindat.org, mindat.org, and you can go, scroll to the bottom, there's a location search. You can go clay, Oklahoma, and it'll bring up different clay quarries in the area, which are also useful. Wes says modern Hopi pots turn a honey color because they are fired with sheep dung, which has sodium in it. Okay. Copper sulfate for paint. Do you use it? I don't know where I would find copper sulfate. I don't know. There's a lot of copper mines in my area, but I think most of those minerals that I find are copper carbonate, not copper sulfate. So I don't know anything about it. I've heard tobacco stains native people. Your videos encouraged me in summer to search for different colors of clay in the banks of the river. Thank you for priceless information. Oh, you're welcome. Could be uranium ore. Uranium ore can be yellow, but you know, I'm not collecting clay anywhere where there's uranium. I'm collecting clay in places where it's sedimentary deposits and it is iron. Amy, I always assumed they would fire it after. Let's see. I saw the modern Hopi pottery post in Instagram where they showed that they achieved one more color on a pot. Very mysterious. The pottery studio I go to has green engobe that does have chromium. Oh, there you go. Yeah. I have some rocks which were giving me purple-like tint, but it's hard to burnish those parts. Huh. I got green clay from Arkansas. It fired green, but then completely fell apart. Well, that's interesting. I've never seen anything go in the fire green and come out green. West says Hopi clay is usually a light tan color without sodium or coal. The firing environment often affects color. Well, absolutely, yeah. Do you sell copper carbonate in your shop? No, but there's no need to. Just go to Amazon, or there's lots of places online that sell minerals, and you can buy it already powdered. So do that. Yeah, I don't usually sell minerals in my shop just because they're so easy to buy online. I tend to sell things in my shop that is hard for people to get anywhere else. So, for example, I sell gourd scrapers. I don't know any place else that sells gourd scrapers. I sell pookies. Where else are you going to buy pookies, right? I sell smectite clay slip that used for making organic painted pottery. Nobody else sells smectite clay, the way I do. So that's the advantage. That's the kind of stuff I sell. If you can get it on Amazon easily, I can't compete with their prices anyway. Okay. It is 22 after the hour. I'm going to give away 10 more memberships, so hang on. One second. I'm clicking the button now, and we should have 10 more members here. There you go. So I appreciate you all showing up today, and that's my little thank you for your time and attention today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about, if you have questions about any of this processing clay, make sure you leave it in the question before the chat's over. Before the live stream's over, so I can answer it. I think I've covered everything, but there's a lot of details in here about processing this stuff and applying this stuff that I may have glossed over. So if there's any questions, put them in the chat while there's still time. Just a couple of things. My December pottery firing. I'm going to do a public pottery firing here in the Tucson area, December 14th, 9 o'clock in the morning, Steam Pump Ranch in Oro Valley, Arizona. So even if you're in the Phoenix area, that's on the north side of Tucson. It might not be too bad of a drive for you if you're out in Mesa or something. That's in Oro Valley, Arizona, Steam Pump Ranch, December 14th, 9 a.m., 9 to noon or something. I'm going to be firing pottery. You're welcome to come out and watch, chat with me, ask me questions. And if you have pottery, you're welcome to bring pottery, as long as it's made from wild clay and it's hand built. I'm not going to fire wheel thrown stuff. I'm not going to fire bisque stuff. But if you want to bring a pot that you've made, I'll fire it for you as well. My Spring Potters Gathering is going to be May 3rd and 4th, 2025. And that's going to be up on the Mogollon Rim in central Arizona, like near Sholo, Arizona, if you don't know the area. And if you email me, and you can email me, go to my website, ancientpottery.how, go to the Contact Us page, send me a message, and then we'll start communicating by email after that. And I will give you the additional details about where it's going to be, what time, all those kind of things you might need to know. We will be collecting clay and firing pottery on that weekend. So make plans to show up if you want to. That's only open to people that are supporters of my channel. You either have to be a channel member, a patron, or an Ancient Potters Club member to get access to that. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I'm not done. I'm going to answer the question about purple. That last color we've talked about: white, black, red, orange, yellow, blue, green. We're going to talk about purple, and then I'm going to finish ask all the questions in the chat before I'm done. Okay. Purple is there's a type of pottery, an ancient type of pottery that was made here in the Southwest called Trincheris purple on red, and it's not really purple. I wish I had an example to show you, but it's really rare. It's centered down in Mexico, south of Tucson, but some of it's found here in the States. And it's not really purple. If you really look at it, it's kind of a gray color. But with the red background, it kind of makes it look, that gray look more purpley. It has a little bit of a blue cast to it. And it's made out of specular hematite. So it's like hematite. It's an iron ore, but it's got little glittery flecks in it. And it's really beautiful stuff, but not truly purple. And I've never seen anything come out of the fire purple. Now, you'll find purple clay. Purple clay isn't actually very rare. Any place where there's like a lot of different, colors of clay, it's not uncommon to see purple or kind of maroon. Some of it's kind of lavender. It can be very beautiful. But most of that purple clay, unfortunately, fires brown. And somebody just said in the chat here that they found some purple clay and it fired kind of, tan color or something, which is pretty common for purple clay. So purple goes right there with blue and green as one of those kind of unobtainable colors. And like I said, even green might be attainable. Purple seems really hard. So yeah, although you will find purple clay, you try it. Don't trust my word on it. Look, somebody years ago when I was very young told me that red clay was no good. If you find red clay, don't bother with it. It's not worth your time. And so I spent the first, 10 or 15 years I was collecting clay, not purposely avoiding red clay before I figured out that, some red clay is good, but some red clay is bad, but a lot of it is good. So don't just go on my word and go, oh, Andy said, don't bother with purple clay. Do your own tests. Go ahead and test it out, find out what's true in your case. But in my experience, purple clay usually fires brown, so I don't get too excited about it anymore. Let me see about the chats here if we're all caught up. We fossil hunt in a place near Grosvenor, Texas called Wilson Clay Pit. Is naturally occurring purple and green clay deposits. That's really cool. I often find purple and green clay nearby each other. I don't know why that is. Paul Estrada, I would love a membership. I hope you got caught on that. They're automatic. They're not given to a specific person. The only way I can do it is to send them out, and then they go to 10 random people. So if you didn't get it, Paul, we'll try it on my next live stream and see if we can do better. Do you sell any white slip? Yeah, I sell the smectite clay slip. So smectite is a specific kind of clay that holds organic paint and turns it into black designs. It's not the greatest slip. It's not the greatest white. In oxidation, it's kind of a creamy color. It's warm. But it does hold organic paint. So if you can buy that on my website. It is a white slip. But I'm telling you, it's best suited to organic paint. It's not, the best white, like this Smith Springs white that Paul Thornburg gave me. This stuff is killer. But I'm not selling that, at least not right now. I probably should. I've got like a truckload of the stuff. Where am I at? Oh man, it's jumping again. Mesquite sap for binder alternatives. Yeah, you can add organic binder to any of these mineral paints I talked about today. And an organic binder just makes it sticky, adds some viscosity to that paint, helps it to stick to the bristles of your brush, helps it to flow onto the surface of the pot, keeps it from like smudging off while you're handling the pot and painting it. So it's good to have an organic binder. It's not necessary. Mesquite sap, any kind of probably any kind of tree resin would work. Any of this organic paint, like this is mesquite beans or like yucca fruit, added to your paint will add that viscosity and work as an organic binder. Do you use your pots as dishes or store-bought dishes? In my cupboard, I have store-bought dishes, but I use pots for all kinds of things a lot of times. Like this one, this is that little mug that I made as part of the Ancient Pottery Challenge this season. I fired this at the Kiln Conference, and I'm going to drink coffee out of this, but I'm waiting. I haven't finished the Ancient Pottery Challenge yet. I've got to finish that Soci black on white picture, and I'm working on it now. I'm filming that video, about halfway done. And when I do that, then I'll take some pictures of all of those pots together. I don't want to start drinking out of it before I get those pictures, because, you know, once I start drinking out of it, it might get discolored or it might get messed up. So I want to make sure that I get those photos before I use it. I used a lot of them for drinking. This, do I have it here? Oh, it's over there. Hold on. I'll be right back. I made this Choco cylinder a couple years ago, and it's organic paint, so it's not fully authentic, but it looks cool. And I coated it with liquid quartz to seal it, which is a great sealer for earthenware. And then I drank hot cocoa and all kinds of things out of this. I brought it to the kiln conference a couple years ago and drank out of it. So, I mean, I use them. I use them for stuff. But in my kitchen, you know, we've got stuff we can run through the dishwasher. I wouldn't run this stuff through the dishwasher. It'll get messed up really fast that way. Wind therapy. I live in Southern Oregon. We have lots of red clay, but I'm clueless if it's decent use or not. Do you have any experience with it? No, I mean, every clay is different, wind therapy. So, I mean, you can't generalize and say, oh, yeah, that red clay in Oregon is good, or that red clay in Oklahoma is bad. You got to go out, try the clay, mix up a little bit, make a little test pot, fire it, you know, get some idea whether it's any good. You've got to do the work to know if it's good, but there's only one way to do that, and that's doing it. Beach John, hello from Germany. When are you going to do your next live stream next month? Yeah, it's already scheduled. My next live stream is going to be on the 8th of December. That is a Sunday morning, same as now, so it'll be like 10:30 in the morning. And I have a special guest, Kelly Magleby, who is a ancestral Puebloan replica potter from Utah, is going to be joining me, and perhaps John Olson as well. So that's December 8th. I think that's in 3 weeks. So that is my next live stream. I just realized I've never seen it. Oh yeah, possibly alternatives for mesquite sap binder would be great to know. Thank you very much. Yeah, probably from Vienna, Austria. We've got a real international group here today. Probably any kind of tree sap would work. I just use mesquite sap because, you know, where I live. So Stinky Cheese Ceramics is here. Hey Amy, my purple Colorado clay is still purple after firing. Hey, that's cool. Yeah, send a picture if you would, Amy. That'd be cool to see. Also, I have a South Dakota clay that stayed purplish gray at high temps. More testing soon on those. That's cool. Stinky Cheese Ceramics, you should follow her on Instagram. She does a lot of wild clay stuff. Mesquite beans continues to amaze me with all their uses. Mesquite beans are really nutritious and delicious too. When you add in colored sand, what happens? I don't know. I don't usually. No, I don't. If you're talking about adding sand for temper to the clay, it doesn't have any impact on the color of the clay usually. Where else are we at here? I never watched your reduction black on white videos that you did, but why were some pots having a bluish tint in the thumbnail? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think any of them have a bluish tint. Do I have any reduced iron paint here? It could just be, you know, it could just be the video, I mean, the editing the photo, you know, adjusting the brightness and stuff gave it a bluish tint, because I don't think any of them had a bluish tint, but maybe you see it differently than me. Did Southwest Pottery have reduced iron on a non-white background? No, because almost any color clay, if you reduce it, it's gonna be gray or white, right? So like Members Pottery, I don't know if you can't hardly see in there, can you? Members Pottery, made in the southern Southwest, it's made with brown alluvial clay, but it fires gray. Almost anything in reduction is going to be either white or gray. There's going to be no colors once you reduce it. The problem is the reduction, right? It eats those colors up. So I think generally if you're going to reduce it, it's either going to be black on white or black on gray. Do you also make musical instruments out of clay? Nope, never have. Okay, everybody, I think I covered all the stuff. The spring workshop is full. My December Potters gathering or firing, public pottery firing, is going to be the 14th in Oro Valley, Steam Pump Ranch, 9 o'clock in the morning. If you want to bring pottery, I will fire it for you. My Spring Potters Gathering is May 3rd and 4th, and that's going to be up near Sholo, Arizona. And send me an email. Go to my website, go to the Contact Us form, and send an email, and we will communicate on that. If you would, hit that like button for me. That will help me in the algorithm. I appreciate everybody showing up today. Y'all have a good rest of your Sunday.